Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Hello to you again, Elder James Franklin. How are you today?
Doing just great. The Lord is truly blessed.
Awesome, awesome. Well, studio audience, this may come as a shocker to some, but today we're going to be talking about living with prostate cancer and treatment. And the reason for that is um, what better way to talk about that than to have someone who is going through it in real time. So I'm honored to have my father here today so we can talk about some things and hopefully help someone else who might find themselves in this situation. So, Elder Franklin,
Yes, ma'am.
what is your diagnosis?
Well, that's the part I like to talk about the most. When I went to the doctor, he used 5 words that was no cancer patient wants to hear. The first one was you have prostate cancer. The second one was it is what? It has metastasized
Mm-hmm.
at stage 4, level 10. What else? Level 10. In
Mm-hmm.
other words, all the diagnosis was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then they closed out by saying, but it's treatable.
Mm.
And that blessed my spirit right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what, it's treatable.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned to accept that. The third thing was when he said that, he said, and if in 2 years, if the chemo has not eradicated the situation, we're going to use chemotherapy. Now, that
Radiation.
radiation, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was truly a blessing because I didn't know I had 2 years left.
Mm.
That was a blessing right there, 2 years. And so we accepted everything they said. We began the treatment. The treatment was prescribed as taking iron therapy, iron infusion, and chemo infusion.
Mm-hmm.
And we began a week ago, and we began to take the treatment, and the treatments went well. I had no down. Everything has went well. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you found out because you went to the doctor, um, or no, you said the doctor told you your diagnosis. So exactly how did you find out?
Well, I went to the hospital. I went to the doctor to be checked out. And when I went to my primary care physician, when she checked me out, she found that I had low blood.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the hospital. They checked me out for low blood, and they decided that they should put me in the hospital
Mm-hmm.
to bring my blood level back up to where it should be. And they placed me in the hospital. They began to run all kinds of tests. And after they ran the test, they concluded that I had prostate, gave me the 12-step test.
Mm-hmm.
Diagnosis was prostate cancer. And from there, we proceeded in the treatment area.
Mm-hmm. So, had you been going for like annual checkups or getting your prostate checked as prescribed or recommended?
Yes, but the doctor told us that after age 70, they don't check you for prostate cancer no more because it's such a low, what, a slow
Mm-hmm.
growing cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
So, so that's important because So the last time you had been, your prostate tested, were did it show any signs of anything to be concerned about?
Not that we could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And the last test we had was in what, 2016? And in 2016, my PSA was right. My prostate, what? My testosterone was correct.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was running good.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, boom, it happened.
So when all of a sudden, boom, it happened. Like at what point did your faith kick in, and how? How did your faith? What role is your faith playing out in this situation?
Well, my faith played the role out in this situation that I went to church on Thanksgiving Day, and the minister that preached a sermon from Isaiah 61. And he talked about the God that we serve. Had said to Israel, "I was with you when you left Egypt. I was with you when you left, when you was captured by Sennacherib. I was with you when you was captured by Babylon. I've been with you ever since I first got with you."
Mm-hmm.
And then he said that God has promised to be with us in our dry season as well as our wet season. That blessed my spirit
Mm-hmm.
because I knew that God had been with me in all previous cases. As pastor, he had led me to lead the church to build a new sanctuary, fellowship hall, education building,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a blessing. And from there, we just proceeded forward.
So, how do you feel that your diagnosis has an effect on the lives of the people around you and the people that love you?
Yes, when the Lord has blessed me with two great daughters, and they look out for me, and a great second wife. That's a tremendous blessing. She's with me whenever I go to the doctor. She's there when I take the treatment. She's always with me.
Mm-hmm.
She is a tremendous blessing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'd do without her.
Yeah, I want to go on record and say, yes, she is a tremendous blessing. Because it's not easy to be your daughter, and I'm gonna assume I'm speaking for both of us, being 12 hours or so away and not be there, but to know that you have somebody that's making sure you get to all five of your appointments in one day, that is making sure that you are following the pre-treatment plan, as far as your medication rounds that you have to take before you show up for the chemotherapy, and that's why you kind of looking off, because she over there right now coaching coaching you
Yeah,
on the sidelines through this interview. So Ms. Janice is truly a blessing, to be your wife and be an addition to our family. And so, yeah, we do thank God for her and her support.
that's correct. And when the preacher was preaching, he blessed my soul. So, because once you think about it, when they said to me, in 2 years, if it has not been eradicated, we're going to hit it with radiation. That said to me that God has not forgotten me. He is still blessing me. He's still taking care of me. He says I got 2 years. In 2 years is enough time for me to make sure that I have my spiritual life straight as well as my physical life. That's important to me.
When you say your spiritual life, exactly what does that mean?
It means that we have to make sure that we keep our spiritual perspective in the same order as we do our physical perspective. To be spiritually inept is to be inept, period. When you lose your spiritual way, you've lost your way totally. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to receive Jesus and go home to be with him. That's where I'm at.
No, that I mean that's exactly it. Um, some of our listeners may not know Jesus. So, and we live in a society where people, they say they're spiritual. They don't, they don't call Jesus' name or talk about Christ. So I was asking so that um, if there is somebody who does not know Jesus as their Lord and Savior, and they heard you say to get your spiritual affairs in order. I'm paraphrasing exactly what that meant. And so yeah. So thank you for your transparency. So our mother died with cancer.
That's correct.
And have
And
go ahead.
and it changes my perspective about that even. It
Hmm.
makes me realize that I was not apt enough to understand the magnitude of what she was going through when she was going through it. But the Lord bless that I understand now, and the only thing I can do is say I'm sorry that I didn't live up to the things that I should have during her episode with that. But the beauty of what she did was she taught me, and I really appreciate this. Her watchword was I won't complain. And she never did. Throughout her ordeal, she never complained. When they diagnosed her with stage 4, they didn't give her 2 years.
Mm.
They told her that she wouldn't be here long, which she wasn't. And that
Hmm.
and that sign you got above your kitchen cabinets is the truth. I'm reminded that it also speaks in the scriptures where when Jesus was talking to Thomas, and he said unto him, Blessed are they that believe without sin, for they shall be saved. Sometimes we're too busy trying to see
Mm.
and we miss out on the main picture. We don't
That's
need to
good.
see, we need to understand
And have faith.
and have faith.
Yeah. So when you go and have your treatment, what is treatment day like? What is, what is that process? And how long does it take?
Well, I go over 2 separate treatments. So one day I go for chemotherapy, and the next time I go for iron therapy. When I receive iron therapy, that's what it is. They inject 2 vials of iron into uh, an IV,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes about 45 minutes. They put it in, and they let me go. And they said that the medication that I take is so strong that no one's supposed to touch it but the patient. And if anyone, and the patient is not supposed to touch anyone because of the strength of the medication.
Mm.
So we follow all of their prescribed remedies and do as they say do and try to be obedient.
Mm-hmm. So how long do the treatments last?
The iron takes 45 minutes. The chemo takes 3 hours.
Mm. Wow. So so when you did 3 hours, you just sit
Yeah,
and
you're sitting in a chair
mm-hmm.
receiving the IV.
Mm. Wow. Or is it like you alone, or is it other patients?
Well, every patient has their own little room,
Mm-hmm.
and they sit in a recliner,
Mm-hmm.
and they have chairs with things that fold across so you can lay your arms up there
Mm-hmm.
so you won't bend them, and you receive the medication.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the size of it.
Whew. So, Elder Franklin, what advice would you give men concerning their health?
I would say make sure you go to the doctor. Make sure you stay in tune with your primary care physician. Make sure that you are aware of what's going on with your body. With your body.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be trusting nobody else to tell you what's going on with your body. You need to know that my body is being, or my body has to accept this medication, and I have no clue.
So I guess I would imagine that's at that point where you say, my body has to accept this medication and I have no clue. That's where the faith kicks in. That's where God picks it up, because he said when we're weak, that's when we're made strong, when he steps in. So at that point, you I'm understanding you to say that you are being obedient to what the doctors are saying, and that um you are trusting God with the process, and so you
And then,
yield yourself to that.
and in accepting God with the process,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is that your spirit has to stand up
Mm,
and choose
yes.
push forward. You have to say to yourself, this is not my end. This is just the beginning of the past, of my what?
You're
Perspective.
you're in your healing.
Yeah.
Mhm. So knowing that, is there anything that you would do differently in life?
I would, if I had life to live over again, I would live it in such a way
Mm,
that I would be more secure in my spiritual life than I've been in my personal life. I, God has been real good to me. We took the number 30. We went to a pastor church that had 100 members. And the Lord told us to divide it by 3, which would make it 33. And to trust Him with the 33. And that we will be able to accomplish that He has set forth for us to do. And He blessed us with that. Took 30 people, built a $350,000 building, and God was good. He gave us a theme. Our theme was sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. And we used that for 20 years, and the Lord blessed us throughout the 20 years to be able to accomplish His goal. It wasn't our goal, it was His goal.
mm.
And they still thriving and they still doing well. And God bless the new pastor and strengthening them and keeping them. May the blessings of the Lord be upon them forever. I don't have nothing else.
So you told me that when you were in the Air Force.
When I was in the Air Force, we met a senior master sergeant, which is an E8, And at that time, back in 1965, there were very few black E8s in the U.S. Air Force. And he was a cook. And he told me, he said, "Young blood," he said, "come over here." He said, "I want you to stand at this pedal, at this pot. I want you to take this boat paddle, and I want you to stir this soup. That's all I want you to do. Stir this soup." He said, "Now, if you listen to me, I'll bless you and I'll help you get through this man's Air Force." He said, "The one thing I want to tell you about to make it in this man's Air Force, you got to learn the rules, you got to know the rules, you got to keep the rules." He says, "Bend the rules, but don't break the rules." The last statement I should have dropped off. I should have never adapted to bend the rules and don't break the rules. But I adapted that and I used it as a perspective, and I lost my way doing the way.
Mm.
But if I had to do it all over again, I would learn the rules, know the rules. I would know the rules, I would learn the rules, know the rules, keep the rules, don't break the rules. And that would be my perspective rather than bend the rules and don't break the rules. Amen.
Well, that's a blessing if you don't say nothing else, because that's a challenge. But I think this conversation in general is a blessing because you're being very transparent, um, and I think that's what people need now. People need to know and understand that ministers and pastors and bishops and people who God have called out to do certain things, they're still human, and they are not perfect. The Bible said we all fall short of the glory of God. So we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. But um, it's important, like to me, to have a conversation because I grew up. You were always like my superhero. My daddy can do anything, and so um, in our challenging times in our life, I've learned that you are human. You know, at the end of the day, you still are human. Whether I want to put you on this unreal pedestal or not, you are still a man and you're human. And it's helped me to not be so hard on myself because I've always tried to keep the rules. I didn't want to, bend them and break them. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking about Mama on the last week of her life, and she died, and she's like, "Where would the world be without you and all your rules?" But it's important because I think historically the church has made people feel like they have to be perfect, and sometimes that has caused people when they fall to feel like they can't come back to the church because of the judgment and the um and feeling ostracized or whatever. But so to me, I want to just say thank you. Thank you for your willingness to share uh, your experience, your diagnosis, because this is different than how we experienced it with Mom. She was very private. She didn't want people to know. But I believe the Bible when it says that the fervent and effectual prayer of the righteous availeth
Very
much.
much.
So when we collaborate with and pray for anything and believing God with other believers, I believe that God hears and answers that prayer. So sometimes if we are too private, we might be hurting ourselves more than we are helping ourselves. But I know for certain this is going to help somebody because I learned something in talking to you that I didn't know when you first shared this situation, and that is that after 70, they do not test you for prostate cancer. And so, I mean, that's not good. So people need to know that, and they need to know, okay, I might not be getting tested for prostate cancer, but I still need to ask my doctor to test
Yeah,
my PS.
PSA and my testosterone.
Yes, yes, those things, and because you might be able to catch some things early, instead of
Late.
being late, right? Stage 4, level 10, or all these things and all these words you said they use that nobody really wants to hear. Um and I just thank God for your spirit in going through it, because you've been making me laugh. You said, did they have to tell me all that at the same time? Could they like break it up a little bit? You got to give it all to me in one sitting. And I was like, Daddy, you crazy. But yeah. So thank you for your faith. Thank you for introducing me to the Lord and Jesus. Um, Thank you for being you. And
We are faced with whatever we face with in life. We have to learn how to deal with it. It's not we don't we don't have a way of knowing what we're gonna be faced with between the time we're born and the time we die.
that's right.
But we can have a good attitude towards it. I face everything with a positive attitude. God is good to me. I can't thank him enough for how he has blessed me. And I really do believe in sanctify yourselves for tomorrow. The Lord will do wonders tomorrow. When I
Yep,
talk about wonders, I think about he promised wonders, signs, and wonders. He says, I will send you signs and wonders.
that's right.
Yeah. And we have to be willing to receive the signs and the wonders.
Yep. Well, I made it just about to the end. Oh, you always call me a crybaby. But so these are tears of joy, not sadness, because we have the victory in life and in death.
Yeah.
So, well, good people, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Freedom Friday with Destination Loading with Lucy. And Elder James Franklin is giving us his famous thumbs up. So it's all good. Y'all have an
All
amazing
good.
day.
And I want y'all to see my beautiful wife before we go.
Oh, oh, Miss Janice.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. How
Hi,
are you?
I'm fine. Thanks.
Good. You see, I had been a big girl for most of it.
Yeah, you did well.
Well, very good. Thank you all. Everybody have an amazing day.
You
We'll
do the
see you
same.
next time. All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.